Okay, so Fiji were playing Georgia down in Bordeaux. It's been quite a warm day in the south of France, on the southwest coast, so there were water breaks in this game. Georgia were in a commanding position at half time. They were 9-0 up, but they've gone on to lose 17 points to 12 to a misfiring Fiji side, I think is the best way to describe uh, the Pacific Islanders today. They didn't come to life until the second half. They've had two players put in the sin bin, so they finished the game with 14 players. To a saver, that might be upgraded to a red, but the game is literally just finished, so we'll have to see if he's suspended post-match and see if he's available for their final game. But Georgia were the better side. The first half, while they didn't really enter the Fijian 22, and they didn't get any points when they did enter the Fijian 22 because all their points have come from penalties outside the 22. They were the better side. They defended better. They were better ball in hand. Fiji made a lot of mistakes, a lot of handling errors. They never really looked settled. They didn't really look at the races. But defence was key today. Very few line breaks by the Fijians, which was very noticeable. The Georgian defensive line was up quick. Very, very quick. A lot of pressure on the Fijian creative players. In fact, any Fijians are really creative because they can all ball handle and run and offload, but they were sloppy today. I think a lot of emotional energy went into that win over Australia, let alone physical energy. But let's break down the scoring. I mean, Georgia did also have a try disallowed for a forward pass, so Georgia did make things a little bit difficult for themselves with their own handling errors and their own mistakes, which came in the second half. But at first half, it is Georgia the better side. Matkova gets a penalty early on 5 minutes, and then Nina Yashvili, he can kick from over 50 to 60 metres. So if you've got a penalty in your own half, and give the ball to him because he slots two penalties, one just either side of the halfway mark, but we're talking over 50 plus metres, nearly 60 metres for the first one. That was on 19 minutes, and then he steps up again on 31 minutes and drills another long distance penalty. So Georgia was just backing their defence today. Their attack in the final third wasn't great. That's something that has been noticeable in this World Cup, is Georgia's final third play. They come up short a little bit. They haven't scored many tries, and of course they have that try right on the stroke of half-time disallowed for a forward pass, but they go in 9-0 up at half-time. They have been the better side. Their defence has stood up to a misfiring Fijian attack. Normally when Fiji attempt line breaks or engage the line, they've got support runners for the offload. There were too many one-up runners going without support, which made it easier to defend. The Georgians have made more dominant tackles than Fiji. They put in a physical shift, and they get the losing bonus point. It's the second half where everything comes to life for the Fijians. Now, Radradra gets a yellow card for a deliberate knock-on pretty much straight away after half-time. That's for 42 minutes. Yet the Fijians win the yellow card period by scoring a try. Naya Kaleva, captain, that is a ridiculous put down, but finally the Fijians string some phases together. And with a player down, they have width. They make the overlap. It shouldn't happen when you're a man down, by the way. So the Georgians are now being dominated in the contact area for the first time in the game. The speed of play has sped up. Lamani's introduction at scrum half has really helped there. So distribution's quicker. And Naya Kaleva, I mean, that put down, he's basically facing the wrong way. He's managed to twist his body. He's almost sat down over the try line. He doesn't even know, I mean, how he's avoided the touch line and kept enough control and downward pressure on the ball is ridiculous. Rugby league-esque, I think, is the best way to describe that try. You see a lot of tries like that in the NRL and Super League in rugby league. And there is a rugby league influence on this Fijian team, with some of the players having played a bit of league and a bit of union. Of course, Radradra being an ex-league player, but he's not on the field at the time. But that sparks Fiji into life. Lamani converts. He then slots a penalty on 64 minutes. And then the Habosi try. I mean, Bottia is an absolute beast. But his line break makes this try. His offload makes this try. And finally, Fiji are stringing phases together. They're supporting the ball runner. They're supporting the player going into contact, so the breakdown is quicker, so distribution is quicker. But that pass, ridiculous back of the hand offload, falling to ground, back of the hand offload, great handling skills, and that's the second try in 68 minutes. Lamani converts that one, and then we get into a bit of a scrappy phase of play. There were a fair few scrappy phases of play, but that period in the middle of the second half, Fiji come to life. They'd shown nothing before then, and they nearly choked it right at the end because Matkova slots a penalty on 79 minutes, and that means if Georgia score a try and convert, they win the game. It's not enough. Tuasava gets sent for a yellow card on right before that penalty, so that we will see if that is suspendable and if it is upgraded to a red in time for the next game. Looking at it, it's a 50-50 whether it says stays yellow or red because it was a head-high contact. Very similar to Tom Curry and Segrin in the opening weekend of the Six Nations. Is there enough mitigation there? Could they go with a similar Curry type decision, where could he have dropped his body height a bit lower, or a Segrin decision where it's deemed as okay, he hasn't had enough time to drop his body, so there's some mitigation. So we'll see if Tuasava, if that remains a yellow. Fiji hold on for the win. They had an explosive period in the middle of the second half. They weren't fully at the races, but this is a sign of a good side when they're not playing well and can win, backing up brilliant performances so far. I think while they didn't get the winning try bonus point by scoring 4 tries in the win, they've got to play Portugal, and they're odds on to win that with the way they play and their physicality. The Portuguese will make things interesting with the way they approach the game and the fact that they're also willing to throw the ball around. So that will be an open game, but everything's in their hands now. The interesting thing is, do they have enough bonus points? This is where bonus points are crucial. And yes, they get the losing bonus points against Wales, and of course they beat Australia. But have they done enough to see themselves through the knockout stages? I think they have. I think the result against Portugal, they're very likely to win that. But it's going to be an entertaining game. The Portuguese will not be any rollovers. There will be pace in that game. There'll be disorganised chaos in that game. Georgia have actually disappointed me a little bit in this World Cup. Lack of try scoring and is a concern. They have scored 12 points today. They have got a losing bonus point, but they're not really clinical enough in the final third. I expected more from them, and as the game wore on, they started making the silly errors and the breakdown. They gave away a lot of penalties, which I think is their Achilles heel. Is their penalty count's too high, and while they've massively improved as a side from where they were when they first played in the World Cup 20 years ago, and they've been banging on that door to get into the Six Nations, they're sort of in limbo in that regard. They're too good for the European Rugby Championship for the most part, but they're not quite good enough to get in the Six Nations by consistency. But there's no doubt on their physical fitness. They stood up. It was a very physical contest. There's no doubt on the development of players. They're under 20s of a very good side as well, so they're really developing talent. It's just making sure that they're clinical in the final third of the field and decision making is a little bit better, and that will come. But they have been disappointing in this tournament so far for me. But they did stand up to a physical test. They get a losing bonus point, but if they won the game, it completely changes the dynamic of the pool, which is the pool of death. But they didn't. Fiji scrape a win today, not at their best, but I think this is where Portugal need to be careful, that the Fijians might come out and rip them to pieces, or the Portuguese may go, well, we'll play 7-star rugby as well and we'll just have fun. Because the pressure's off Portugal. Fiji, there's still a little bit of pressure on them, but their route to the knockout stages is still in their hands. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below, and I will have some more content for you very, very soon.